all right, this is pink silk. And this is just shot. I waited for the sun from the south to be beating on the house, and some of the reflected light came in. So this was shot without a flash or anything. It's just a vase full of flowers, but it has a little light and a little shadow in it. So it's more than just a picture of a flower that looks like it was taken by somebody from the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's not really like a mug shot of daffodils. It has, a little light. Let's move on, George. And this is Chucker in one light. And then I waited a little while and the light changed, and I didn't do anything except take another picture 10 minutes. There you go. There's a, what did I call that? Catch of the Day, April 2006, with the stuff that was blooming in the yard. And again, this was taken just on a little stand next to a window, waiting for the light to come through. And depending on how bright the sun is at the time of day, that's the kind of a shot we got. I think that was early in the morning. And go to the next shot, George. And well, yeah, this is Emerald Empire and Friends. This is the one with that nice little green, I guess it's an eye. And I think we've got a couple of poets in there and a double. And again, really stark contrasty lighting that when I was working in an ad agency, we did a lot of fashion stuff with this kind of extreme lighting. It looked like somebody came in from New York Confidential or something with one of those old cameras with a giant flash on it, and you took a picture of two people coming out of a hotel. That's the kind of lighting they used in a lot of fashion ads, and that's the kind of light you'll get if you wait for the sun to come right through a window and start cooking the flowers. Next up that's sort of a semi all white show, and this one has it's taken at the same place, only the light's in a different part of the world. Gulf River Queen and Bridal Chorus. The one it would be like at 4 o'clock, the one with the really huge trumpet. That was one of my favorite. I started with 12 of those things about 10 years ago. I got them from somewhere in England, I think. That's Silent Valley. And I got 2 a couple of years ago, and last year we didn't get any because we had a weird winter, and I'm hoping they come back. Okay, George. Now, that's, again, if you remember, the first shot was on this same stand with pink silk, and it was soft lighting. Now the sun is in the far west, and I've got this enormous white trumpet. And I think there's some little avalanche flowers in the background, and a couple of others that are still blooming in our yard. And next is, now that's up against the backsplash next to the kitchen sink. This is Tahiti. And when the light comes around, go ahead, George, and hit it, then you can see some of the water drops on it. And I didn't move the camera really, and I didn't move the flower. I just waited for a different kind of light to show up. Next is a little daffodil group. I think the one at the bottom right is Salome, one of my favorites. And I can't figure out what the one on the top is. I had a lot of them. But this is from a 2006 shot. George, let's go on to the next one, because I remember when I first saw the catalog, I think from Ring Handy, and this was Cherry Glow, and I said, I remember George told me that this cost a lot of money, I think, when it first came out. I think I paid about $12 or $15 for it, and I really love the color, the redness of it. George, hit the next one. And didn't move the camera. I just waited for some light to come around to the side of the building, and bang, there it is. That's a really lovely red. There's a close-up that follows this. There. I really liked that flower, and it was around, and go to the next one too, George. Yeah, I like this flower a lot. It's just that it was around for 3 or 4 years and then it was gone. It may have gone in one of these weird winters we have where it gets real cold, then it gets warm, then it gets cold again, and some make it and some didn't. And unfortunately, Cherry Glow is missing from the inventory. Let us go. Now, this is downstairs in our kitchen on the counter. We have sliding glass doors, and around 10 o'clock in the morning, it was later than that. It was more like noon. The light started streaming through the doors, and we were having eggs Benedict with champagne. And I was thinking of that Matisse painting with a goldfish you could see in it was a little aquarium. So I stuck this in front of one of the daffodils and took a picture of it. And then we drank the champagne. On to the next one, George. Okay, this is Cedar Hills. I think this is from Grant Mitch. And I love this flower. I just get a kick out of it. It's a tough little flower. It's got beautiful little coronas, and it always seems to be somewhat earlier, so earlier than other flowers. So I always look forward for this one to pop up. Again, this is just natural light, but now, since I'm in a new house, could you back that up 1 second, George? Okay, now I'm sitting at a desk in front of an iMac 27-inch computer monitor. And when we moved over here, I was looking for a place to take pictures. And I realized I'm in a bay window. I've got a window there and a window there and a wall there. So I get morning light and I get afternoon light. And I got a big piece of green cardboard and I just set it in front of the monitor. And I moved behind me about 3 feet. And that's where I take the pictures. And these shadows are coming from the blinds and the curtains and everything else, or it gives kind of a film noir effect. And that's where I've been shooting a lot of the pictures right here on a desk. I have a black cardboard and I've got a green one and I've got a gray one. And I just sit it there and I wait for the light to come. And then I take a picture. As you'll see in the next one, George, go to
I've got to admit that's our friend Irene. There we go. Oops, he said. Oh dear. Is that the next
all
one?
right. Yeah, see, this is taken on the desk with the green card too, but the background changes with the light. And in this case, the light's coming through the window on this side. So I get to kind of choose when I want to do it. This is I think, silver chimes, and another little pretty flower from the garden. And then the next one, George, this is the light coming from the other way sometime in 2010. This is Pacific Rim. This is one of the best performers I've got in the garden because every one of the flowers looks like an award winner. They all have a very smooth and consistent look. And I wouldn't be, I would be remiss if I didn't have some of this around the place because they make a beautiful bouquet and they really look, most of the time they look like they're almost like handmade flowers and ironed. The petals or the sepals are ironed. It's a really pretty flower. And again, just shot in natural light coming through a window without any fancy equipment or anything. What's next? This is our film noir shot of Sundisk. And as I recall, I took a picture of this with my thumbnail once, and it was slightly bigger than my thumbnail. This is a really small daffodil, but they all look great. They all look like they're just sort of stamped out of the same machine. Very pretty little flower. And looks nice in a vase all by itself. It looks nice with some segovia too. But this was also an early bloomer for us. Now, next, George. This is Intrigue in all its glory. When it starts out, it's sort of all yellow. And then if you get lucky and you've got some nice sun, you can get this beautiful white corona with the yellow backing on this, right where it meets the sepals, I guess. These white flares, a real pretty flower, and it's also fairly strong. It doesn't die as easily as some of the other ones do. Okay, George. Now, for a while, I had a Brian Duncan Division 11, and I think it was Drama Queen, as my screensaver. This is a picture in my office where I'm sitting now, and I had an Actea flower, and I stuck it in a vase, and I stuck it in front of the monitor, and I just took a picture of it with the flower in the background, and I then used that as my screensaver for quite a while. Let's see. Okay, go on to the next one, George. That's Actea times 3. I don't even see this on the, there it is. Go to the next one then. We'll go to, this is really kind of crummy lighting for Segovia. So go to the next one. And there you get that harsh, strong light that gives you lights and shadows, but it's a much more dramatic picture. If you're looking for a screensaver, you just want to take a picture and hang it. That looks better than the shot ahead of it by far. And coming next, I grabbed a bunch of daffodils and stuck them in a vase, and I'm still on the computer desk, and that's the green background. Only this time we've got a bigger selection. We've got avalanche and some double daffodils, and one of my favorite, I don't have many pictures of it, one of my favorites came from Grant Mitch, and if you look at the avalanches down at the bottom, the white flowers with the little yellow cups, to the immediate left, there's something with kind of a roughly orange corona. That's chromite, and that's an intermediate, and that has disappeared, I think, from stock too, because when Mitch left, I think that one disappeared. But that's one of the ones I like the most, because that orange kind of looks like that orange candy cane Halloween candy when it blooms. It wasn't really a heavy producer. I usually was getting like 1 year, 4 years, and now it's gone. So I have to see if I can find a replacement for it. Okay, next. Now this is avalanche. This is the one that we have to grow as an annual, and you can't even grow it as an annual sometimes, because if it comes up a week or a month after you plant it and it's still winter, it's not going to be showing up in April. I hope some of them do, but I have loved this. It's just you need to be probably living in Virginia to grow it successfully year after year. Since the global warming has arrived, Chicago, our city, is in a new USDA hardiness zone. Northern Illinois used to be zone 5, and the Chicago lakefront along the shore up till I think the Wisconsin border. This is not zone 6, so I thought, well, maybe this will live year round, but it doesn't. One week of warm weather and then 1 week of cold weather, and this guy is not going to be showing up in the spring. Got another picture of it here too, I think, George. Go ahead. Yeah, that's it, with more light blazing through this window to my right. And I love this flower because it smells good, and you get a lot of them. If you cut 2 or 3 stems, you've got a handful of flowers. And if you cut some geranium, now you've got a room full of flowers almost, without having to have cut 2 dozen. Next. That was my big idea for an improvement. That's the computer desk, and there's a printer to the right. I decided I needed some kind of control of the lighting. So I got a screen, and I got a special light that is 5200 Kelvin, which is the coolness or heat of the light, which approaches sunlight. So if you get that kind of a light and you shine it on a flower or anything, and you take a picture, it'll be like sunlight. And what I did was, the light is actually behind the screen on a gooseneck lamp, and I would use that if I wanted to take pictures during a thunderstorm or nighttime or the sun wasn't out. And it worked pretty well. I think I've got a Tahiti in a little jar behind it. And you can see the walls are kind of green behind. They still have that green tint behind my wall. This dark cardboard is in a lot of shots as a background, but there's still that green back there that I can use too. Okay, George, next. That's pink silk again, I think. And I'm trying to figure out where well, anyway, yeah, that's Fragrant Rose. That's Fragrant Rose, just a close-up using the light from that little gooseneck lamp with the light that I have behind the screen. Okay, George, on to geranium, just natural light again coming through one window. And go to the next one. Yeah, same thing. This is a dark, black cardboard, and the light is giving you a little tone on the right side, and it's black on the left side. So you get a little drama in the pictures anyway. We've got a couple of Division 11s there. And I think the yellow one with that ribbon around the corona, I think that's called puka. And that came from Ireland. That was a ringheadia too, I think. Next.
Oops.
Is there one before that? No, okay. All right, that's a daffodil counter shot with the same thing, just a little light coming through the right side. And it's at this close-up level, you realize that some flowers in that shot shouldn't be there, like that dead thing down at the bottom right-hand corner there that looks like it's ready to expire as we look at it. Next, George. Yeah, this is more on a counter with natural light. Just, yeah. Now this is called Causeway Sunset. This is a really pretty little flower. I think this is another one that came in from Ringheady, and I've got that planted right below our deck. It's a beautiful little flower. And now I think we have some Division 9s. They've got a series of those. Okay, there's Actea. That's probably, of all the Division 9s we've grown here, that has been the most reliable. It comes back year after year, and it has a beautiful form, and it smells good, so we like it. And the next one, this is from Brian Duncan. This is called Frank, and it's a lot different than Actea. It has a little tiny little orangish red ribbon around the corona. And it's still blooming in the backyard. We still get them. It's a really pretty flower. And what's after that? Well, there's Frank again in a quartet with light coming through my window to my left. I love these flowers because they're unusual. They have, well, I don't have to tell you what they look like, and they smell good. And I love these little cups with the little the ribbon around it and the green eye and whatever the hybridizer realized. Okay, George, on to, now here's a close-up. You can see that Frank doesn't really have a lot of banding around the corona, but it's a great little flower. And I think there's one last, there's Frank and Actea, and I think there's another kind there whose name I don't know. And then we have this thing. That may be gay. No, there's a gay table, or can't remember the name of that. But this is another selection of poets shot in front of this this black cardboard I have on the desk. Yeah. Okay, George. Now, I looked at this the other day because I haven't seen it in a long time. This is called Shrike. And I think this came from Grant Mitch in Oregon too. And when I looked at it, I said, this looks like it belongs in a movie that has zombies in it. I mean, these coronas look like something was eating them, but this is the way they look. And I can understand how I'm probably the only person in America that's growing it, because you can't take this to a show, because I don't think any two are even remotely similar. And it starts out kind of like the one on the top. It's bright orange, and then it works its way into pink, but it always looks like it's dying of something, you know, leprosy or some disease, but it's not. That's the way it looks. Okay, George. All right, here's a little daffodil bouquet with all kinds of stuff in it. I think most of them are in decent condition. I don't see anything in there that really looks dead. The nice thing about growing lots of daffodils is you can put a lot of them in a shot. I grow dahlias, and there's no way you could get that many dahlias in a shot like that, because you'd need to be standing 30 feet behind it. Some of these things get 12 inches across, and there's no way you can get a really nice looking display like this. You just get some monster dahlias, that's all. Next one is,
Jim,
yeah.
Let me, oh, here. Dave Hardy says Frank was actually bred by Sir Frank Harrison.
Ah, Sir Frank Harrison, that's right. Okay. Are you still selling it? Is it still available, I wonder?
Well, Dave will tell us maybe.
Okay. All right. Sir Frank Harrison, right. And the guy who, next picture, I think is Silent Valley.
Oops.
Now, I remember whoever hybridized that is Sir somebody also. And I can't remember the guy's name, but that's also a guy with a title in the UK. All right, now we move on to, this is from Ring Handy. This is Puka. This is a really nice flower, big, bright, happy face. I like this a lot. On to a combo shot. This is Puka and geranium. And then again, light coming, and here's fragrant rose shot on the desk again, with just some light coming through the window on a really cloudy day. Next. All right, this is where a lot of pictures get taken sometimes. This is the kitchen. And this is my latte. I had a latte in a Chicago Tribune and a pile of flowers. This is where we usually keep them when we have a good season and we've got everything blooming. We just keep them down there. And if we only have a few, we put them in the refrigerator overnight. We found that we can keep flowers for at least 2 weeks, sometimes even more. If you put them back in the refrigerator every night and let them get cold, and then you bring them out in the morning and let them sit there all day. And in really nice cold weather where it's not terrible, I'll just take them and I'll put them all outside on the back deck and use outside as the refrigerator, and they will last and last. One of the people in the Dahlia Society said, just throw a teaspoon of sugar in each one of these things. Don't buy anything commercial, and these things will last even longer. And they have. I put a little sugar in the water and trim these things off, and they can last for 2-3 weeks if you just find a place to put them at night to keep cool. Okay, George. Now, this is the other side, looking in the opposite direction. The counter is kind of interesting. That's a soapstone counter that it's made out of the same material that everybody's great grandmother had in the basement where they washed clothes. They made those sinks out of soapstone. And in a lot of college and high school chemistry classes, the counters were made out of this material too. This happens to have a lot of veining in it, which makes it look kind of like black marble. But it's a lot better because I've taken a Dutch oven with sourdough bread in it that had been in an oven at 500 degrees and set it on that counter, and it will not burn. You cannot stain this, you cannot burn this, you cannot harm it in any way unless you scratch it. The soapstone is the softest member of the talc family, and a lot of people used to carve images and icons out of it. A lot of, I think people in Alaska were carving, there was soapstone out there and they carved animals and stuff like that. But this was the material people used for carving. And when you've got a lot of flowers you have to take a picture of, I can't do it up in my bedroom. So I bring them down here, or I bring them out of the refrigerator and set them up. This is just what it looks like. With the kitchen lights all on and some light. I think if you look on the left, you can see it's dark outside. I've got all these lights on in the kitchen, and it's probably nighttime. And I've got this this set up just to see what it would look like in the frame, how much I could get in. There's in the background on the right, there's one of our red tulips, and that red tulip, those tulips were blooming here when we bought the place. That tulip patch is 25 years old, and for some reason those just keep coming. They keep coming back. Okay, George, this is what it looks like shooting on that counter at night. And in this case, I had one light hanging over the counter, and that's the only thing I used. I turned on that light and I changed the aperture setting so it would darken up in the background, and I could get all these flowers in it lit in kind of a semi-dramatic way. A lot of, you can see on the right side, there's a lot of geranium there. And I don't know what these big ones down, these big yellow ones with the orange cups are. But this is a standard shot for evening when everybody's gone up to bed. I can set this up and take some pictures and then develop them, have a look at them the next day. Okay, George, next. Now here's another group with, all right, well, let's go see another one. There you can see, take the next one. Yeah, you can see some of the reflection from the glass bottles they're in. I could turn this into a mural, I think. That'd be fun. Okay, George, next. Again, moving in for, I think the ones on the far right are precocious. And there's some Salome's in the center, Pacific Rim on the left, Tahiti's at the top. And there's 4 nice silent valleys at the bottom there. With those, I love those, the way those things flare out. They look kind of like Tiffany lamp lily shade. We've got one of those with these old-fashioned shades, and that's what it looks like. Okay, George, next. Again, moving in to the same group, taking a picture. There's Segovia down at the bottom and Actea. Very bright, beautiful flower. George, next.
Oops.
Okay, now this is shot with a flash. I finally got a flash, and it's, I don't know if you can see me. This is the thing I finally got that allows me to shoot any way I want to. It's a flash on a cord. If I wanted to be if I wanted to be an addict, I'd get a new flash that's wireless, so you don't need a cord. But this is on a cord attached to the camera, and I can, with this, rotate it any way I want, even straight up and bounce light off the ceiling. But I can pick it up and move it 20 feet to the rear over there. And I think in one day, that's what I did with one of the flowers. I took 200 pictures and moved the light all over the place just to see the result I'd get. This one is just, I think I bounced the light off the ceiling. That's all. I just set the camera here and the light next to me and tilted it so it hit the ceiling, and then took a picture. And there's Puka in the center, and Intrigue over its shoulder there, and some nice poets down at the bottom, a very wrinkly, well, kind of wrinkled, but that's not Actea, that's something else. I think I got from Ringhattie. I love it, but I don't think it's growing in our backyard anymore. Okay, George. Now, what's this? This is just a bunch of daffodils. Again, I've got, I think, some fragrant roses. I think Frank is in the back there, and this is shot with a flash, I think, in the bedroom. I decided I would go into the bedroom if I had the opportunity, and I would set up sort of a studio where behind me you can see this is a gray material I got that I've been shooting with lately. I don't have any daffodil shots with that. But what I did originally was I set up a board on one of the beds, and I got these two stands with a big rod and sent away and got a roll of 100 feet or 150 feet of black paper. And what I do is I just pull the paper down, and then I pull it across the bed and weight it down, so I'd have a little more depth of field and a little more background, so it didn't look like there was a cardboard sitting right behind it. Then I could shoot in any kind of weather, and I could move the camera around. I could move the flash around, so I could put it where I thought maybe it would make the most effect. If I had a bunch of flowers on the right side that I wanted it to light up, I just have the flash on the right side. If I wanted to do it on the left. So it gave me a lot more control. Okay, George. Yeah, these are just a close-up. Okay, on to the next. What is the next? All right, this is, again, this is shot with a flash. I think this was bouncing off the ceiling. I think the ones on the right are Salome. There's Intrigue below it, and Ice Wings, and Geranium, and a couple of Tahitis. And yeah, that's I think what those all are. Next, there's that zombie Division 11 at the far left. And we were talking about what these ruffly pink ones are. The one at the top, and there's one next to the zombie 11, and one at the bottom. Those are all, again, from Ringhattie. I think that's called Dreamcatcher. That's a real pretty flower. That's got the ruffles on it are amazing. And there's a couple of silent valleys in there too. Okay, George. All right, another geranium shot. I think this is up against one of the cardboards. Okay. And yeah, now this is geranium with two Dreamcatcher daffodils. I like that daffodil. Okay. This is puka with a ripped petal up there, geranium, and I think this is Drama Queen. Yeah, okay. And this is a lot of Drama Queen. And I think that might be Frank again. Okay, George. All right, now Flower Surprise is one of everybody's favorite. It never wins anything anywhere because no two look the same, and most people who are judges want something that looks perfect, like God created this. And these are just kind of wild and crazy flowers, but I love them. And everybody else who sees them comes right over in a vase and says, "What is this?" It looks like it's a carnation or whatever. This is called precocious. And this is almost like the same thing. It's got this crazy cup that everybody looks at and says, "That's very interesting. I didn't know daffodils do that. I didn't realize that they weren't all yellow." Okay, George. All right, this is Gay Tabor. Now, a bunch of white doubles really looks nice in a vase. And we planted some more this fall because a lot of people like doubles and they like and they like Division 11s, and hardly any time do you see them winning a best of show. But a vase full of those gay tabors lights up the room. Next. There's a gay tabor with some Pacific Rim, and can't say enough about how clear and clean these Pacific Rim flowers are. I remember when I got them from Grant Mitch, they were expensive. And I noticed in a John Sheeper's catalog that you can now, I mean, you can, this is like a worldwide flower now. I think you can buy 5 for $8 or $9 or $10. So I bought some more, but you don't have to pay $12 a flower. You pay $12 and you get 5 bulbs. But this will always be in the garden. It's just too nice a flower not to grow a lot of. Okay. Now this is gay tabor again, and behind it is a parrot tulip. That's one tulip. And the parrot tulips can be bicolor and kind of crazy, and I can understand why they call them parrots, but that's just one flower. And unfortunately, they get so big and they get spread out so much that when it rains, they get knocked over because it's like a giant upside down umbrella catching water. If you look at all those outstretched petals, you can see how those things can be blasted in the rain. Okay. This is our last fragrant rose shot. I got somehow a lot of fragrant rose pictures. That's the last of the fragrant roses. And this is another ring handy. This is called, what is this called? Honey orange. I think I bought 3 several years ago. And now 3 bulbs, and I usually will get 10 to 12 blooms from those 3 original bulbs. It's a really good, strong performer. You get a bouquet from just that one planting. Okay. Now here is Intrigue and Ice Wings. I remember. Is there another Ice Wings, George? Yeah, there. This shows it better. I remember reading somewhere a hybridizer named Bill Pannell was interviewed about what he was doing and what he was growing. And he said, the best flower he's ever seen is that one. And I can understand why somebody would think that is the best daffodil. If this little flower ever were the size of a Division 2, it would look like, it was kind of like a middle linebacker. The corona on this thing looks like it's carved out of ivory. It's maybe twice as thick as you'd expect it to be for the petals or sepals. It's a really solid. It looks like you could drop it from 10 feet, nothing would happen to it. And if it were a bigger flower, it would probably be growing in everybody's garden because you get multiples off a stem. But it's the substance of these coronas that look like they're like made out of something else. That it's a real treat to have them because until you really get up close and look at them, you can see there's really a difference between the nose that's coming off this thing that looks like Dick Butkus might have created it. And then these little, I mean, this looks like a middle linebacker kind of a flower to me, but it's small, but it's a proud flower. It's like, it stands there and it says, take a look at this. And I do, I mean, it's one of our favorites. And if Bill Pannell says, that's what daffodil should be, I said, okay, all right, on to the next. This is the earliest daffodil we grow. This is Jetfire. And we get a lot of them. It's a very strong, tough plant, and it increases. You get more of them each year. And we've had them for 15 years at least, and they just keep going and going. And they're one of the first signs of spring here. Okay. Well, here's our last look at the zombie Division 11. And I think it's with Lady Eve. That is another, I think that's another Brian Duncan special. There's a lot of beautiful number of Division 11s come from Ireland. Next. Okay, this is Sundisk with Frank again. And that flower down on the right is that one I like a lot called Chromite. It has just this wonderful corona. And this isn't exactly the color it is when it's perfect. It gets a little more orange. But this was taken on my desk here with a black background and the flash. And I think I remember this shoot. I probably took 15 or 20 pictures and then just moved this stand around until I got the light looking the way I wanted. And I thought, well, those things look very nice in the vase, and I'm glad I stuck that chromite in there. Okay, we got, I think, 2 more to go. Okay. This is precocious and some thistles I found. And I'm bouncing a light off the ceiling. And I don't know if on your monitor, if it's as clear as it is on mine, but I shot this in the bedroom with that long black sweep, and you can see that if you look at the very bottom of the picture up till the rim of the vase, that's solid black, and then it starts to lighten behind it. That's the edge of the bed, and that's where it starts to go up and hang over the rod on the stand. That's a pretty flower. I like that. Okay, last one. During the pandemic, I learned how to not make sourdough bread 300 different ways. And I finally learned how to make one the right way. And so I decided I'd take a picture of Actia and stick it in a new kind of a daffodil holder. And it's a homemade bread with a homemade flour taken at home by homeboy Jim during the pandemic. But that concludes our little flower presentation for the day. Thank you all for stopping by and watching what